Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I am your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I am your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm your Cobra intern that's 65% off, but shipping is 80% of your subtotal cost. Codename Legion Cub.
Solid. That sounds like a Black Friday deal to me.
It is.
You can follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure you click the follow button, give us a 5-star review, and tell all of your friends about Audible Interlude, because that is the only way we can grow and flourish and survive out here in the wilds of the podcast and streaming world. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast, and you are watching the Needless Things YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share. Again, tell your friends about Needless Things. We'll be talking about this later, but tomorrow, my review of this beautiful baby boy goes up. But like I said, we'll be talking about that some more.
I like how it's almost the size of your head.
I know. Well, if it was the size of my head, it would have been twice as much, because that is massive. This is the size of a classified APC. You could get 27 classified figures inside my head comfortably, and then Duke could be in my mouth piloting. It would be like Ratatouille, but slightly more disturbing.
Duke-a-Dooey.
But Needless Things YouTube channel, where we will be live again. Yes, we're actually taking a week off of the live shows. December 16th. Mark it on your calendar right now. That is the next time we'll be live, which means next week, finally, at long last, we are getting back to business as usual with an audio episode. All segments, baby.
Just like the old days.
That's right. And there is that glorious Robo-Skull Mark II. Again, we'll be talking about that a little more in just a few minutes here. We have many T-shirts available. And actually, if you're watching this live right now, TeePublic has a Cyber Monday sale going on. I always say, wait for the sales. Well, there is a sale now. So if you would like an Audible Interlude t-shirt, there are many designs, most of which are by our pal Shop Slickalicious. Go check out our TeePublic store. You can get the link from our Instagram pinned stories at Audible Interlude Podcast. So go get some swag. And speaking of swag, you guys, I got to give a big shout out to Third Wave Sabotage, who is the recipient of the last Audible Interlude hat V2 that I had available, as well as some other swag. He got the last hat. He got the last Force Brigade figure that I currently have. Basically, the year-end stock clear out went to Third Wave Sabotage for making an incredibly kind, direct contribution that keeps us on the air for a year. I'll just say that. He did not ask to be credited, but he will be credited. So thank you very much. I cannot even tell you how much we appreciate that. And of course, if you would like to contribute to keeping us on the air or producing more hats or other merch or whatever, you can hit us up in the super chat right now. $1, $2, whatever you're comfortable throwing in there. We appreciate every single bit of it. But again, huge shout out to Third Wave Sabotage. Go give them a follow on Instagram. Absolutely unbelievable. A captain in the Audible Army at this point. So we got Black Friday. It's Cyber Monday now. Black Friday happened. Did you guys do any Black Friday toy shopping? Did you come across any deals you couldn't say no to?
I bought some plywood and a light bulb changing attachment.
Oh boy, Noel, calm down. Save some for the ladies.
Drill bits. Yeah.
I think he's buying this for the ladies.
Yeah, my only Black Friday shopping was to go to the Home Depot because I was like, oh, I have a day off and I can do a little bit of home improvement today and get my Christmas tree up. So, yeah.
There were a lot of things that I really, really wanted to get into. Last Resort Toys, who does vinyl toys, like really, really cool stuff. Do you guys remember the Diener space creatures? When you were a kid in elementary school and you'd go to the school store, they had little character erasers
Oh yeah.
of like a Swamp Thing knockoff, an Invaders from Mars knockoff. They were called the Diener space creatures. Google them when you get a minute. Well, Last Resort Toys does beautiful 8-inch vinyl toys of these, but they're a little on the pricey side, as those things tend to be. But I think it's still going today. They have a 40% off sale and other sales on other stuff that they do. And I really, really wanted to order a bunch of their stuff, and I just am trying not to just spend money right now.
I would have never pronounced that Diener. I would have thought it would be like diner, but when you said Diener, I'm like looking up like Diener, like Cody Diener.
Never look up Cody Diener.
Honestly, I know I ordered some stuff. I just got really confused because I got so many shipping notices Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from stuff that had been pre-ordered. So I'm honestly trying to remember what specifically was Black Friday and what was not. I know I got the Four Horsemen found some stock of previous releases. I know they put them on their site, so I got that. I was so close to pulling the trigger on Father Christmas because that's one that I've wanted.
Oh, it's so good, dude. It's one of the only ones I've bought.
But with the Naughty or Nice collection one coming out, I was like, you know, he's not going to fit in with the rest of those, so I think I'm just going to stick with that line. And Joe-wise, most likely I'm going to pull the trigger on getting the SMS. I haven't, but I keep going back to it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's never going to be. I doubt it'll ever be a better price. So if you think you might want it, you need to get it. We got a bunch of folks hanging out in the chat. Wreckship85, Agent Chuckles, Jeff Butler, Pavloft, who says R.I.P. Morgan Lofting, and we'll be talking about her in just a minute here. Road Pig, John, always a pleasure to see you. Rachel says, used the Cyber 35 code on Pulse for some classified figures. I didn't buy any classified, but I did pick up a few other figures for my son for Christmas. Wreckship says, got another Crimson Viper and a couple of Crimson Bats on Black Friday to bolster my Crimson Strike Team forces. JJ Shoulder Heights in the house. Jeff Butler, who I think as of yet has the purchase of the day, bought a set of the Baroness 1970s paperback books by Paul Kenyon that have covers by Hector Garrido, which I believe those are the ones that are referenced in Carson's book, The Art of G.I. Joe. I think those are the ones where they're talking about possible how Hector Garrido ended up with the job. Like, this is the stuff that they were seeing that said, ooh, we like this guy. Pavloft. I picked up a complete Iron Grenadiers Demon with Despoiler, Destro, and Ferret Driver for $100 from my friendly local toy store. That is not a local toy store price. That's a great price.
Yeah. I want to jump back to Wreckship's comment as far as people that if there's anybody out there that is still looking for Crimson Vipers, I think it was Amazon that had them down to like $17.
Yeah, Amazon's had them marked down a few times.
Really good deals on classified figures as well as Pulse. So,
and I really like the Crimson Vipers. In a weird way, I kind of like them more than the regular Vipers. Just as figures. The only other thing I did allow myself to buy some formerly overpriced vinyl toys. Are you guys familiar with Henry and Glenn Forever? It is a parody comic book that presents Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig as a couple.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes.
And Rocom Toys. Actually, you know what? I need to pull this up. You may know Rocom Toys because they distribute the Mighty Maniacs as well. But I had to buy. Let me do a little share here. This is the Henry and Glenn Forever vinyl toys, which you may recognize those shapes as Gigantor and Astro Boy. And this is a glow-in-the-dark blank vinyl set. Kotetsu Henry stands at 9 inches tall. Astro Glenn stands at 5.5 inches tall. Comes with swap-out fists and claw arms. And these were 75% off. They were originally $115 for the set, and I got them for $35.
That's awesome.
I could not pass that up. And then if you want to see the regular set, I think they're still no. They took the regular set down, so all they've got left is the black and white, which is still full price. But that's what that looks like. But yeah, it was too weird and niche and awesome a thing for me to not jump on that. I mean, $35 for vinyl toys like that is nuts. But to go back to Last Resort, like I'm not quite at the point where I've made enough of a decision to be buying inventory for a future toy store, but my gosh, I wish I was, because being able to pick up all their stuff for 40% off would have been incredible, but I'm not quite there yet. Let's see. What else have we got in the comments? Jeff Butler also got a Tiger Force Stalker from 2003. And
Nice.
So, yeah, had some fun, but nothing. There wasn't anything that I just couldn't pass up. There were some great deals, but, like I said, I'm trying not to buy stuff just because right now.
I was, as I was thinking to myself, I was talking to my friend Brian the other day, and he asked if I'd picked anything up with all the deals. And I was like, when I was at Retro Toy Con last weekend, on Sunday, as we were getting ready to pack up and leave, I was like, I'm going to take one more tour of the floor. There was a dealer who had a whole bunch of Troop Builder classified figures, including some Crimson Vipers, some Crimson Bats, some Python Bats. He was selling them 2 for $15.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I can't do it. It was like,
right.
6 months ago, I would have bought all these things.
Yeah.
But it's just
the space.
And it was such a great, incredible deal, but I just could not do it. And that's why I was like, same thing. I got the notification today that my Iron Grenadiers are shipping. And I was like, I should have canceled those first, because I just don't need them at this point.
Well, you'll change your mind when you see them. Because honestly, when I got, because I think it was last Monday, right before our live, when my pile of loot box arrived, and I have to say, the Iron Grenadier and the Iron Grenadier Bat, easily.
Here's the problem, though.
Looking forward to the Bat, but like the Iron Grenadier itself.
For any more factions, I literally don't have anywhere to put Iron Grenadiers.
Well, the Iron Grenadier needs to kill some people off, because with the amount of guns and that sword they come with, I'm thinking they can do it.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Is that the same sword that came with the Crimson Guard, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's whack. And it looks like we don't talk about leaked stuff here, but it looks like there's going to be another inappropriate reuse of that sword that I'm not crazy about. But we'll talk about that down the road when it's actually confirmed. Having said all of that, I do believe. Well, let's remove this from the screen. I cannot remember who had the. Did anybody have any words, or are we just showing the video?
I thought Noel was going to talk.
I mean, I've got a little bit of a little background on.
Yeah, because
Do we do video first, or do you want to do the words first?
Yeah, you can do
I was
video
going to
first.
Video
suggest
first?
doing the words over the video.
Oh, well,
Just
we
'cause
can't.
I
It
didn't have.
StreamYard doesn't play that. So
Okay. Well, then
we'll
roll
the
that
video up
beautiful
here.
bean footage.
Yeah, play the
right.
video, give us a little inspiration, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about her.
All right.
Oh. So as we all have we've seen some in the chat already today, but we did hear over the weekend that we did lose Morgan Lofting. She was an incredible voice actress who, of course, provided the voice of the Baroness on the G.I. Joe cartoons, both the original A Real American Hero show starting in '83 and G.I. Joe the movie, and of course all the DEC stuff as well. One of the few voice actors who actually did do both the Sunbow and the DEC version of G.I. Joe. So there's 1940. I've seen others that said 1949. I know that when the reports came out, they said she was 84, but I've seen again others.
Yeah,
that
that was the weird thing when I was trying to find. But you know what? Just from the interactions I've had with other lady voice actors, Hollywood was very. So a lot of them did fabricate birth dates. So
Yeah.
I just went with the one that I saw the most. And just for the people commenting real quick, there was no audio because I thought we were going to be able to talk over it. So you didn't miss out on anything. That was our moment of silence.
And great editing there. I did like her waving goodbye at the end of the clips there. That was very, very fitting. Of course, she has done a handful of stuff. She's she doesn't have the kind of resume that you see on some of the others' work. It's 50 years of consistent work. Most of what she did was back between like 1983 and about 1995, 96. So maybe about a decade or so of where she was really doing a lot of solid work. But really, the Baroness is her signature role. She started off doing stuff like Star Blazers, Spider-Man. She played Black Cat early on. She did a few live action roles, including playing Mrs. Rudder, the wife of Joe Don Baker, in the classic film Joysticks,
which I just watched today, and oh my gosh.
It's a movie I hadn't thought about in a while, and now I need to go back and watch it again because it was one of the ones you had to sneak and watch when you were a kid.
Yeah, who knew they could make a Porky's level sex comedy about an 80s arcade?
That's right.
I have no knowledge of this whatsoever.
Oh yeah. But yeah, she was in. She did the voices for a lot of other big commercial events. She did some voices in Total Recall. So another thing that I was not aware of until today. In addition to the Baroness, she played Madame Versailles, Couverta Fatale, and Mrs. Rudat. I presume that was Dusty's mother from the episode The Traitor. course, she also did some other cartoons at the time. She did several voices on the Transformers, including playing Moonracer. Did a couple of other smaller roles on that show. And yeah, just a wonderful woman. I've talked to her a few times because she's been very, very friendly with the fans. She's been an honorary Finest member, as many of the other folks who contributed to GI Joe over the years have. So she's always like very happy to come and like talk to members of the Finest and other people who are there. Like she loves seeing Baroness. She loves seeing Baroness cosplayers. The last picture you saw there was actually several both Finest members and just other costumers that together with her at a con. She was always just wanting to jump in those pictures, and just somebody who really just cherished how much, GI Joe fans continue to just celebrate her character and, and her contributions. And I mean, for millions and millions of young American boys who grew up during the 1980s, really, the personification of like one of our earliest crushes. So, I can't say, any more about that but we'll very, very sad that she's gone. And, it was very unexpected. She's been doing shows up until very, very recently. So, I don't think anyone expected it to happen. It happened, I think, last Wednesday, but news didn't really come out until over the weekend.
Well, and in a decade where, in general, the female characters from our media didn't necessarily get top billing, I would say her voice is one of the top most iconic voices from G.I. Joe. Like, she is absolutely up there with Destro and Cobra Commander.
Absolutely.
She probably, well, not probably, she had more appearances in the cartoons than any other female character.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean,
absolutely.
Really, if you think about it, she probably is one of the top 2 or 3 most featured characters in general from G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say really her, Cobra Commander, and Destro probably, and not even Destro, probably 1 and 2, because I mean they're in just about every episode.
A couple of things that I wanted to mention. One, she played one of my most favorite villains in Jim and the Holograms. It's just unfortunate that it's in one of my least favorite episodes, The Princess and the Pauper. I just think it's a story that's overdone. Like, all versions of it. It doesn't matter where or who. But when it comes to Eastern European vague accents, that's her is what Morgan Lofting is always what I hear in my head. And when it comes to the joy of her and her interactions with the fans, something to keep in mind is that back then, because this is another thing I've heard more so from a lot of like Filmation voice actors that I've been lucky enough to talk to, but they honestly had no idea back when they were doing this. They went in, they did the job. Maybe they watched the show, maybe they didn't. It's not like they got sent copies of the toys. And from everything that I read, when she got out of voice acting, she went back to college to get her master's.
Most of those actors back then, to them, like you said, it was just a job. They had no idea of the cultural impact of what they were doing, and certainly not of the longevity of that impact.
So I'm very thankful that she got to experience the fandom, because I have seen interviews with Chris Latta's daughter saying, the saddest thing is that he passed away not knowing all of this.
Right.
So, raise a toast to Morgan tonight, but also every chance you get, when you go to these conventions and stuff, let them know, even if you're not getting an autograph, just let them know how much they mean to you, because they touched us all.
And they deserve to know that they've had that impact. Although I think at this point, most of them do.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that
17 says Baroness was one of my favorite Cobra characters, right next to Cobra Commander, Destro, and for some reason Scrap Iron, which I think Noel can relate to.
And again, she's like many other people who starred in G.I. Joe back in 40 years ago, still just so connected to the fandom. And I think that like we as a fandom of a toy line that really was forgotten about for decades by a lot of people, we're really lucky to have such a great group of folks who contributed to it back in the day, who were still so invested in the fandom. And so again,
who are willing to engage with the fandom.
And so like you said, when you are at a show and you get to see Neil Ross or Arthur Berghart or
Michael Bell.
Keone Young, Michael Bell, whenever they're there at those shows, go by and talk to them. Sometimes it's great just to hear that voice, and just it'll bring back so many memories when you're hearing them talk with their normal voices, and you could just hear like I see where that's coming from.
Because even if they're not doing the character voice, it's there.
Yeah.
So I went through a bunch of live action stuff that she had done to put in the video, but then I changed my mind at the last second, just because I didn't think a lot of people would know it. But she did a 4-episode stint on Knots Landing, and so while I was doing some plumbing work today, I had it playing in the background so I could try and see if there was anything great. And I just love being able, like you said, they can be in something else where, you may not recognize their face, but as soon as you hear that voice and you're like, wait, that kind of sounds like, oh, that could be her. I mean, that was me with Susan Blue in Friday the 13th, Part 7.
If you ever get a chance,
every time I watch that and I hear her voice, I'm like, RC, no, she's this. This is her.
When you get a chance, look up Chris Lotto's stand-up comedy.
Oh, I have.
Oh, it's great, because all of a sudden you hear, oh, it's Sparkplug. Oh, that's a little bit of Starscream in there. Oh, that's Glove from Bionic 6. Like, just the characters that you haven't thought about in so long. It's like, oh, I see where all these are kind of playing out.
He had those voices loaded up and just used them. Well, we've got to move on. Obviously, Morgan Lofting had a massive impression on us in many ways. And at 84 years old, it is sad, but it is not tragic.
I feel bad that the last thing we reviewed of hers was Operation Dragonfire.
Yeah, but she was having fun.
Oh, she was.
She was having fun.
She was just living it up during that. I mean, you could tell she was just turning it up. Her and Chris Latta both were just having the time of their life doing that.
It's why I specifically did not include any of it.
So with that, we need to move on to the news. The first thing I want to talk about really quick is we've got some updates from Callsign Longbow. Here's the only picture accompanying the updates. You can see some of the weapon tooling. The first round revisions to the Lancer body tooling are complete. A first pass on the Krasny Ninja body tooling has been cut and is being tested. A first pass on the Volk Gru Spetsnaz Trooper Uptown Outlaw body tooling has been cut and is being tested. And 3 additional tools with hands and non-weapon accessories, backpacks and headgear, have been cut and tested. These are being revised as needed. So they're still moving along. They're still in the process. And as we saw with the figure we're looking at right now, as they get completed, they're going to ship them out. So Callsign Longbow, just really cool stuff I'm excited for. And if you want to hear a little bit more about that, be sure to check out my Creator Series interview with John Kent. I'm sorry, not John Kent. With I just drew a complete blank. I'll come back to it. Check out all of the Creator Series interviews. They're all fantastic. Moving on. We've got an Ecto
It
1
sucks
update.
getting old, listeners.
Oh my
and
gosh.
watchers.
There's a lot. There's a lot. When I said not quite ready to commit to the idea of having a brick and mortar store, there's a process in place, and it is taking up more of my brain than it needs to be right now. Ecto 1 update. We are in the final hours of the Ghostbusters Plasma Series Ectomobile. Hasbro is using a lot of weird terminology for Ghostbusters because I've never heard Ectomobile until this campaign. And
I remember Ectomobile being used back in the 80s. Like, I think I had some like Ghostbusters books or something that called it the Ectomobile. Yeah.
Well, and it has to be a licensing thing, just like I still don't understand the use of plasma. Because plasma is
in your
not
blood.
Plasma
Keeps you
blood.
alive and
But
gives homeless people $75 a week.
The Ghostbusters thing is ectoplasm. And then there's proton streams. Like plasma, not really relevant to Ghostbusters, but none of that matters because we are currently at 14,555 backers. The Ecto 1 funded. I yesterday backed a second one because I just have to. Because
That's
I
your
have to
thing.
have the original, but the one from the second movie is more toyetic, has more going on, more detail. I have to have both of them. And you're never going to be able to get them again. This is it. You know?
You commented, I think it was our last episode about TeePublic has just been blasting texts and
oh my gosh, yeah.
And
right.
then you got the text for the Pulse sale. I didn't. But today, Pulse, very much so, my phone was going off quite frequently with "Don't miss out. This is your last chance." And then it funded, and I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness! Can you stop texting me now?"
No, they will not stop texting you. They will continue
all day
until midnight tonight when this thing ends. But it's exciting. I'm thrilled. Emily put up a post on Instagram the other day saying, "Where do you think it will end?" And under, I do this a lot on Instagram since I've got multiple accounts. Under the Audible Interlude account, I put 14.5, and under the Needless Things account, I put 16,000. Just as my guesses. But we've surpassed 14.5, and I would say in the next 3.5 hours, I think there's a really good chance we hit that 16,000, if not more. But I'm delighted. This is the most invested I've been in a HasLab in quite some time. Like with the Joe ones, you kind of didn't even have to worry about whether or not they were going to fund, but also it didn't seem as critical to me. Whereas this one really felt like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't fund, I am legit going to be bummed out because I'm so excited about this thing. So anyway, there is your Ecto 1 update, which means we need to move on now to further non-G.I. Joe news. Oh, baby. I am very... Now, granted, we're right at the end of the year, so it's not a leap, but I am quite comfortable saying Toy of the Year, Toy of the Decade, potentially. The quality of this thing is absolutely incredible. For those who are listening, I am looking at the Robo Skull Mark II from Skeletron, and just a few simple joints in these wings create so many different configurations. Like you've got, there's just so much different you can do with this thing. And so it's got the glow-in-the-dark eyes, and it also has the machine gun eyes, but the posts can fit. If you can see, I've got the Gatling guns up on the blasters because it came with blast effects as well that go into those ports. But I realized, like, oh, wait a minute, because I'm not taking glow-in-the-dark eyeballs out of this thing. Are you kidding me? I'm actually going to just pull those out right now. So now I've got those up on the wings, and then you've got the blast effects that fit in there as well. And this is something I wanted to ask you. Oh, and so gorgeous transparent cockpit with that little transparent panel in the front, and all of the hinges on this thing are so solid. Like when you pull this up, it clicks into place. There's no loosey-goosey, the cockpit's going to fall down while I'm trying to do stuff inside. But the good news about what's inside is that seat just pulls right out, and you get to situate your guy on the seat and then put it back in. So there's no my gigantic hands trying to fit into that little cockpit space. And then, of course, you've got the 1/12 scale seat that just slides right into place.
Oh wait,
there.
So that other one was the 3 3/4.
Yeah, this is the 6-inch seat.
Oh, okay.
And that because you can see that one's got the 2.
Yeah. I see it now.
But everything just slides right into place. It all works brilliantly. There is not a spot on this thing that isn't perfection. So I got to ask you, well, first we'll look at this. Here you've got the drone deployment / prison pod that fits perfectly into that little back nook. And again, my full review of this is going to be up here on the Needless Things YouTube channel tomorrow, 11 a.m. And then those wings, I can't even tell you how much all of this ratcheting is so solid, so sturdy.
It sounds so satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. It does. It stays exactly where you want it to stay. These wings are so thick and sturdy. There is no concern about breaking anything. So this is what I want to ask you guys about. Also included, I mentioned it's got the glow-in-the-dark eyes. It's got the Gatling gun eyes. But also, you can see it's got the missiles in the mouth there. Those are removable. Those actually come out. And then inside, there's storage for these little pegs that can also go in the eyes and are compatible with Diaclone.
Oh.
So, okay. So hang on. Let me wrap this up, and then I want you guys to elaborate a little bit on what the heck that means. But anyway, this is unbelievable. And depending on the pricing, when they go up for regular sale, I will buy another one because this included, hang on. Okay. A whole sheet of glow-in-the-dark labels that glow like they are freaking nuclear. And I have to use them, but I want to have a standard default RoboSkull. You know what I mean? Like I want to have one that's just what it's supposed to be. All right, so let's talk a little bit. You guys tell me what this Diaclone compatibility means.
Well, the original Diaclone toys that, of course, the G1 Transformers were based on, the cars and the planes, they came with little figures, little tiny, like 1-inch tall figures that had magnets on their feet. So, like, if you ever look at some of those, like, you know, a lot of the cars and stuff, they'll have little like slot where you can put a pilot in. Even things like the the Insecticons have little compartments that you can put people in. The
Oh,
Dinobots have this.
kind of like Starriers and Zoids had.
Kind of, yeah.
Except posable.
Yeah, they had like their legs moved. I think there just was their legs. Their arms were fixed by their side. I think.
Okay.
But yeah, like that's why like you'll see. When I was a kid, I'm looking at like the Dinobots. Like, why does Grimlock have a little compartment in his back that opens up? It's because they all had little figures that fit inside them in the original Japanese molds.
And so
these are 3mm pegs.
That's what I'm wondering, if it's meant for the new line, because for a year or 2 years they've been doing. It's not the Transformers. It's later series Diaclone, vehicles that combine, like spaceships and stuff that combine to make a bigger robot. And I'm wondering if it's like for their accessories, maybe.
So there was a picture up earlier, and I really should have saved it, but I was up to my neck in a bunch of stuff at work today, so I couldn't. So
okay, yeah,
Skeletron posted an image of a Diaclone like Waruda. Oh, here it is. Hang on. Oh, Ben actually posted this. All right, let me do a little screen share again, just so everybody can see what we're talking about. So in the left eye there, that purple is a Diaclone Waruder something.
The Waruders were the villains from Diaclone.
And you can see that the slim end of the blast effect also fits into that 3mm hole, so you can actually have this blasting out of the eyeball of the Robo Skull Mark II. So that's whatever that thing is. Oh, so do you think a little person goes in that?
Maybe. I'm looking at these other Diaclones, these like Lost Planet ones, and so maybe that's.
But anyway, what an interesting little bit of compatibility that I was kind of baffled by, because I didn't really know what they were talking about when they said it. Like, I knew Diaclone had its roots in Transformers, or Transformers had its roots in Diaclone, but I didn't know much beyond that. But I knew you guys would have some more information.
I have to say that photo where it had the one glow in the dark eye and the one Diaclone eye was totally giving me Rescuers vibes, and now I want one even more.
So really quickly, before we wrap up this Robo Skull talk, I want to go through the timeline of the Robo Skull campaign, because I think it's very interesting. So I made some notes here based on their updates and my emails. The campaign, what year did this launch, do you guys think?
It was the same year as the Sky Striker.
Yes, at 2021.
Okay, so yeah, this launched on October 14th of 2021. I backed it on October 15th of 2021, my wedding anniversary. What a thing to choose to do for that day. It funded and achieved all 6 initial stretch goals in 21 hours, over $200,000. On October the 15th, they added a 7th stretch goal, the heavy metal armor mask, which is on the way to their facility now. Or no, wait, no, I think the last update on that was they had to retool something. So that's still a ways out. On October 16th through the 20th of 2021, they announced stretch goals 9 through 13, which were the Elite Flight Stand, the 6-inch Marauder Pilot Character Kit, and these are all add-ons. So these were not included with your initial purchase, but they were things that they were going to be able to produce as add-ons due to the funding. Number 10 was the 6-inch Marauder Pilot Character Kit, which has 2 different helmets, heads, and accessories to create a different pilot for the Robo Skull. A total Robo Skull Deluxe hardcover, which is the visual story of Robo Skull Mark II. a 4-inch Marauder Skeletron add-on, and a 6-inch Marauder Skeletron add-on, which was the final add-on stretch goal. And I ordered everything here except the book, because at this point I had invested so much in this thing, I just could not justify a book. I'd like to have it, but come on. And the final stretch goal unlocked at $546,000. So that's that hit there. On November 13th of 2021, the final stretch goal was unlocked and the project closed at 1,523 backers and $609,878.
Wow.
On January 28th of 2022, they sent out the backer kit surveys where you would fill out add your add-ons or whatever. December 3rd of 2022, the Assassin Skeledrones 3-pack shipped from the factory. If you remember, they actually had a blister carded set of the Skeledrones that you could just purchase for $15. So those shipped from the factory, and then on December 15th of 2022, they started shipping out to backers, and they opened up orders for people to be able to just buy them, which I ordered a couple of sets of those just so I could keep 1 minute on card. December 27th of 2022 is when I ordered my Assassin Skeledrone 3-pack. December 30th of 2022, I ordered 3. This is when I really broke and was like, I have to have a lot of this stuff. I ordered 3 6-inch Wolf Troopers, a 6-inch Jungle Wolf Trooper, and a 6-inch Pilot Character Kit. And in roughly 36 months, they have provided 81 updates. That is almost 3 updates a month. It's more than 2 updates a month. But still, talk about consistency, talk about transparency and keeping people informed. And yes, the original goal, this was, oh gosh, I had this written down. It may not have saved right. I believe this was originally supposed to arrive in May of 2023. It made it in November of 2024, and I will go ahead and say, fine. I've been saying for years, make it right. Ship us good product. However long it takes, make the product good. And I'm telling you right now, this thing, worth the wait, absolutely incredible. This is a top tier prize. Rescue it from the burning house toy. So let me ask you guys. So this, as I said, this launched in October of 2021. At that point, we are still very much in the pandemic economy where people are just buying stuff. Do you think that's a big part of what contributed to its success?
No. My thought pattern at the time was, and I still believe this even if I'm completely wrong, but the Robo Skull, when it's so highly sought after, and very rarely do I see them pop up on eBay or in the wild, but it's one of those things that, like, as soon as you see a photo of it, you're like, I want that. And
That's
then
how I
when
was.
you see what it's going for, you're like,
Never
I will
mind.
never have that.
So
And this was
that
an
was me.
opportunity.
I had never, I feel like we might have discussed the original Robo Skull on the show like a few months before this hit, because I remember exactly what you just said, having that experience of, oh my gosh, what is this thing? Or actually, you know what? I think I had found that one Action Force website that was just, it's dedicated, like it's all the
Mm-hmm.
toys. But so I was aware of the Robo Skull, but just hadn't known about it for too long. And then this happened. And I think that's where my investment came in, was, oh my gosh, it's an opportunity to have this thing. So yeah, I do think the pandemic economy played into it,
Sure.
but you're right in that it was kind of a once in a lifetime toy opportunity.
And honestly, since seeing it at Joe Fest, when I when I go back and I look at Action Force stuff online, I now look at the original Robo Skull with a, "Aw, isn't it just a cute
Right.
little thing?"
It's
where
very quaint
it's
compared.
yes, like it's no longer this, "Oh my gosh, that's a weapon of death and destruction."
Right.
Like, so I am so thrilled that with everyone that I'm seeing posting it now that's getting them, everyone seems to love them. I've not heard a single bad thing about it. So it makes me hopeful that they'll continue. Maybe they don't all have to be, at that level. But if they want to make some other Action Force vehicles, take my money. If they want to start making vehicles, just from the quality that I keep hearing about, and briefly got to see at Joe Fest, I mean, I'd buy their stuff over some of the other third party companies.
And here's our a call, a nudge Hasbro. Hey Hasbro, you now have a classified vamp mold. Why not do an SAS vamp, or you do some of use some of the molds that you have and do some homages, because someone's going to buy that.
I'm trying to find. Isn't there a tank version of the Robo Skull? Am I crazy?
A tank version?
I thought there was a ground-based version, or maybe it's just something somebody made up.
Well, I mean, the original one walks.
See, I was thinking there was one with like treads.
Oh.
All I'm seeing, and somebody, oh man, but I want the shadow track.
Oh, I want that so bad.
Before. Somebody in the chat may be able to correct me on that. It might be a custom somebody made, but anyway. So yeah, Robo Skull Mark II. Oh, here, hang on. We got some commentary. Same Time Toys says, I'm so happy everyone is getting their Robo Skull. This was one of the crowd funds that made me nervous because it took so long and made its money so fast. Smog 17, I cannot wait to buy a Skeletron Wild Weasel figure off of eBay. Pavolft, I had picked up an original Robo Skull about 3 or 4 months prior to the Kickstarter, so this coming out was absolutely insane to me. And also, we need a Triad fighter now.
Yes. And out of curiosity, the original Robo Skull, like, was it a find? Like, was it a collector?
Oh yeah. How did you even come across that?
How did you come across it?
Yeah, they don't pop up a whole heck of a lot. And with that is the end of our news segment. Not a lot to cover. And I will mention, just to wrap up with the Robo Skull, I do believe once they have shipped everything to the backers, there is a plan in place for retail releases of the Robo Skull. I don't know what they are, but I do now. It's not going to be this price. It's not going to be the $219 that I paid for it. But I do believe you're going to be able to get one. So don't jump on eBay right now and pay like $500 for one of these. I think that Skeletron has plans to release these at a more standardized retail price.
So Pavel said, with regard to the Robo Skull, I bought mine off of eBay. I'd been reading all the Battle Action Force comics, and I decided I needed it. Needed it. And I like how you think, because while I don't have an original Robo Skull, that is absolutely how at least I know me and Dave sometimes react to things.
Well, like you said, like when you see something that bizarre, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. And then you see the price and you're like, maybe not. All right. So everybody knows now it is time for our favorite segment of the show, the one where we go to the Audible Army to tell us what we're going to talk about next.
The Golden Banana Awards.
Everybody be sure to follow Audible Interlude podcast on Instagram, because every day we do a live stream. Early that morning, we put up a post that says sound off, because we want you to tell us what to talk about. First up from Audible Interlude podcast on Instagram, Viper Wilson. What do you guys like best, Cobra Troopers or basic Vipers? How do you feel about Skybound mixing the two in a Real American Hero? So I'm not sure about Skybound Real American Hero reference. If you're talking about in the Energon universe, I think we've seen both, and maybe they've kind of mixed some elements, but to me, it seems like they're still distinct Troopers and Vipers, right?
Yeah, well, they showed...
Because the Vipers were a big deal. They came in with Mercer with the laser gun.
Yeah. But we did see some Troopers that are also clearly inspired by the classified Trooper molds as well.
Yeah. And just as far as personal preference goes, I have just always, ever since the Vipers came out, I just think the Vipers look cooler than the Troopers.
I like the basic Trooper. I think it's a very utilitarian, bullet stopper Trooper. It's great to have a little infantry group like that with their balaclava faces. So I always had the headcanon, because if you go back and you read some of the early G.I. Joe comics, Larry Hama on multiple occasions refers to the Troopers as Vipers before Viper was a thing. So to me, that costumed Viper was just an upgrade to the Trooper costume. And in my headcanon, it's because Cobra Commander's paranoid that Destro and Dr. Minor are plotting to overthrow him behind his back, and for good reason. And so he decides to build an army of troopers in his image. So that's why they all have the silver face shields like he does.
Oh, I like your headcanon.
That's always been my thought. So in that sense, I don't like to see them together if I'm thinking that way, but I also I don't mind in more modern updates also seeing them both on the field at the same time, because one is a little bit more specialized, maybe, if you think of it that way.
So if you look at the file cards, the Vipers are the entry-level Cobra troops. They are the lowest of the low of Cobra troops. But for me, in was it 1985, I think, when the Vipers came out?
86.
Or was it 6? Was it
86.
6? So 86, whenever the Vipers came out, to me, they were, like you just said, more specialized Cobra troops. They were a step up from the regular Cobra troopers to me. Now, granted, that didn't mean anything, because I only had one of each. But still, the Vipers were they looked cooler. So to me, they were cooler. They were more advanced troops. So really, as I always say, whatever it is on your shelf is what it is. Who cares what the toy people write? You use your imagination.
I like Noel's headcanon, because when I saw this question, I thought I am going to be the odd man out, as always, because I do prefer the Cobra Trooper look over the Viper look. Couldn't tell you why. It's just an aesthetic thing. There's no right, no wrong.
Yeah, it's all personal preference.
Yeah, and even with the classifieds, I'm not a huge fan of the Vipers, but that retro Viper that's coming out,
Looks good.
I do like. So
Bobby
And
Wald says, I would love to see them make some classified figures of the zombie cyborg troopers from the current Real American Hero comic. Yes, I think we all agree on that.
mhm.
I always want classified to get more weird.
aesthetically, for the figures, yeah, the Viper is a big step up from the 82, 83 Cobra Troopers, because those figures really were, I mean, they were very bare bones at the time. So yeah, it's really, like, I'd say the figure itself is a lot better. But the character design, like when you see them in animation and comics and stuff, and even like when people costume them also, I do love wearing my trooper costumes.
All right. Next up, Wreck Ship 85. I'm not saying I'd actually want this because I think they look terrible 99% of the time, but which of the Cobra forces would you want to see redecorated like the crazy holiday figures that the Black Series does every year? Did you guys see this? Did you have an opportunity to think about it?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
What you got?
So I agree with you, Wreck Ship. There is no such thing as any of these figures looking good. So the only one Christmas theme that I would entertain would be a redeco of Raptor as the Christmas tree angel that goes on the top.
I love it. I did not see that one coming. That's great.
I'm just doing a straight color swap on Tomax and Zaymot with
I thought of that.
just red and green, and you really don't have to change much. Really, just swap out the blue for the green, and you've got it.
Well, I was thinking swap the blue for the green and the silver for gold.
Yeah, you could do gold. I mean, the silver works
red,
too.
gold, and green. I mean, first of all, classic
Red,
80s
gold.
reference.
You're a karma chameleon.
Karma
Yes.
chameleon.
But also that's like, even I know they can't, but just imagine if they could make that gold like chromier than it is. They can't do vac metal, but if they could do one of the metallic treatments like Super 7 does, because Super 7 has really good metallic paint on some of their stuff. Oh, I think it'd be beautiful. I love that. That one occurred to me, but what I landed on. Smog 17, go ahead. You can put it. Smog 17 says I'd want a Snowman Viper and Santa Cobra Commander Destro. I love it. This is what I landed on. I would like to see a Trooper, a Viper, a Guard, and they would be known as, since we're talking Christmas, the North Pole. So this would be the Pole Patrol. And we'd have the Pole Viper. We'd have the Pole Guard. And it would be just like the Python Patrol figures, but they would have like Christmassy, like snowflake and snowman and whatever else deco on them. But I'm all for some Pole Patrol figures. Moving on. Nowhere Man Child. Which voice actor from the Sunbow cartoon would you still want to meet? Rest in peace, Morgan Lofting, of course. For me, fortunately, I am a meeting people and getting things signed person. I love doing that kind of stuff. So I've met Michael Bell, Arthur Burghardt, and Keona Young. You can hear my Arthur Burghardt story on a past episode. It is wild. But anybody else, I would love to get figures signed from any of the voice actors I could meet. And I actually have a Baroness that I had loaded up to bring to Joe Fest this year, and unfortunately Morgan Lofting canceled for reasons I think maybe we understand a little better now. But yeah, anybody that I could meet and get a figure signed. I've the Super 7 Reaction figures that are based on Sunbow, or I guess Reaction Plus now, are perfect. signing figures.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the kind of person who does go up and get things signed, but I mean, I've had conversations with, I've talked to Morgan, I've talked um, to Arthur Burghardt, I've talked to Neil Ross, I've talked to Brian Cummings briefly. I've the ones who have been at shows I've usually, at least had a few words with at some point. I mean, really, it comes down to, like, Brett Ratner doesn't do a lot of these, but I'm sure he'd actually be a pretty interesting guy to talk to, considering he still will, like, do Flint sometimes for other media. He's done it on, like, Robot Chicken, and Family Guy and stuff. So yeah, he'd be an interesting guy, I think, to talk to. Obviously, I'd like to go back to a world where I could have a conversation with Chris Latta, because that would really be, I think he would probably be one of the most interesting people to talk to.
Road Pig John says Shipwreck voice actor Neil Ross. Yeah. And
Neil Ross is a very interesting guy, and he actually comes to he came out to Retro Toy Con a few years ago and did photo shoots with people dressed as Shipwreck. So
no way.
He loves his fans.
Wow.
He is on my bucket list. If he comes anywhere in, the Georgia, Florida area, I need to see him.
Ship 85 gives an LOL to Pole Patrol. I was going to say Big Boa and give him a red nose and antlers on his helmet. That's new tooling. They're not going to do that. Jeff Butler, who is Nowhere Man Child, who presented this question, says Rob Paulson, who did Snow Job and Tripwire, is terrific. I have Neil Ross's autobiography signed, but have not met him yet. I always forget that Charlie Rob Paulson, Adler, both.
Yeah, because Rob Paulson has done so much stuff that I just forget that. That's right. He was Snow Job too.
Yeah. The time, one of the anime conventions that I helped years ago, I used to help produce, we had Rob as a guest, but we spent all of our free time talking about the Tick.
So, yeah.
He also was at Retro Toy Con a few years ago with all the other original Ninja Turtles voice actors.
Yeah, a lot of people got that one box set signed by all four of them. Beautiful piece.
Yeah.
And listeners, if you ever get a chance to meet Charlie Adler, do it. He's another one that, like, pretty much every show in the 80s all the way up to the 90s.
He's in everything.
He was in, and he voice directs so many shows now, but he's one of those like Billy West, the stories that he has are just crazy.
Well, there's some that you just want to,
as he's shifting through voices. So
there's some of those folks that you just want to, get to their table and talk to, and there's others that you want to make sure you get to their panel.
Oh, and then there's ones that you're like, after the show, let's go have a drink at the bar where you can tell the unedited version of this story. Which Billy West doesn't care where he is. He'll tell you the unedited version.
Billy West does not have a filter.
But I imagine that's also how Chris Latta would be, and he would have been a blast.
I think I said Brett Ratner earlier, and obviously I meant Bill Ratner, because Brett Ratner's a completely
I knew what you meant.
person.
Brett Ratner. Do not care to meet Brett Ratner.
No, neither do I.
Tom Henry. I've been listening to the older Audible interludes, which I recommend everybody do that. Listen, give them a share, tell your friends, and just listen to the one where Hasbro announced Sergeant Slaughter in Classified. Could there be another Classified line announcement that could elicit the same amount of sheer joy from you guys? Fang 2025. I thought about this, and Sergeant Slaughter was a very special combination of being massively significant to me personally from a pop culture standpoint and a G.I. Joe standpoint. And he was in no way guaranteed to be in Classified. Matter of fact, it did not seem likely because Mattel has been doing business with him for so many years.
And Vala had him
Right,
signed.
Vala had him. So it was that combination of the significance of his character and the unlikelihood of him being in classified that made that announcement so exciting. And I can't think. I mean, look, there's plenty of stuff I'd be happy about, but I cannot think of another character that would like. You guys know I want Super Trooper, I want Robo Joe, but I cannot honestly say I would be as excited for those as I was for Slaughter.
So
Well-
this, Tom, you amused me. Like when I read this one, because I didn't get a chance to read it till I was already in pre-show with Dave, and the giggling fit that I had, because sheer joy. Go back and listen to Slaughter or Nodder. But I think that is, I think that's what helped the Slaughter announcement. Is I don't think there is any other figure in the line where when I say we are so diametrically opposed, it's not that, I'm opposed to Sergeant Slaughter overall. I just, again, go back and listen to that episode. But I think that just had that build up, because there are popular characters we may not agree on their popularity, or obscure characters, but we didn't disagree to the level that we did.
Yeah, if for those that are not familiar with this era of Audible Interlude, these two bozos voted Sergeant Slaughter out of G.I. Joe.
Which clearly we have not held to that standard, because I think we've talked about him just about every episode since we banished him.
I do think his name has come up almost every episode. Real quick, we got to say, Wreckship85 says since he's part of the Iron Grenadiers, Roddy Piper maybe. Piper would be awesome.
That was my answer for this one, because I don't know if it's ever going to happen, because obviously he's not with us anymore. They have put out, Mattel has put out multiple figures of him in recent years,
and they seem to have a grip on his license.
Yep.
Because a lot of these wrestlers are coming out from multiple companies in the same way that Slaughter is. Piper is just Mattel releases.
Yeah, and with Piper, so when the Piper figure was released, it was an exclusive at the JoeCon in 2007 that took place in Atlanta. So I was actually there. I got my Piper figure.
And what did you do with it, Noel? What did you do with that Piper figure you got?
I eventually sold it off, but yeah.
Shameful. So yeah. I would love to see Piper, but as cool as I think it is that he was incorporated into the line, the idea of Piper and G.I. Joe just does not carry the same weight to me as Sergeant Slaughter.
Well, and you don't have the nostalgia for it. He wasn't in the media and that sort of thing. But like just seeing him there and seeing him, be part of that launch
it was
back
great.
then,
it was cool.
Was fantastic.
And I'd love to see it now. So Tom Henry says, not even Fridge. I do want Fridge in classified, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't give a rat's patoot about William the Refrigerator Perry. I didn't when I was a kid, other than the fact that he was a big, cool-looking, different Joe figure. But pop culture-wise, he means nothing to me.
What if we finally get a Rocky Balboa?
That would be incredible. Actually, but you know what? I don't really want a classified Rocky. I want a Super 7 Reaction Plus Rocky. I want the original Rocky we were supposed to get. I don't really want, don't get me wrong. That's not right. I want a classified Rocky. That would be awesome. But I would be way more excited for an O-ring Rocky. What about you guys? Not at all?
No.
Wow.
I would buy the O-ring Rocky. I don't have any particular attachment to Rocky Balboa being part of G.I. Joe because he never was.
But he was supposed to be.
And as Marvel Comics said, he has never been a member of G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Who listens to those guys? They don't even have the license anymore. How about Jake Paul?
85 says, how about Jake Paul with his prime drink accessory, codename Showboat? Wreckship 85, you are about to get noddered.
Well, and you're wrong about his code name. His code name is Slowboat. If you watch that
I don't
fight,
like. For me, even with Fridge, I never had his figure as a kid because, to your point, Dave, I wasn't into sports as a kid, so it was a pop culture figure. There was no emotional attachment there at all.
it was literally just because it was a mail-in, and I was like, "Hey, can we order this?" And my mom said, "Okay."
And I'm sure in those earlier episodes, I would have been 100% on board with finally getting a Rocky Balboa since he was supposed to be part of the line. But since we've been doing the show, there are so many other figures I'd want to see. And thinking of that, there actually maybe is one figure we've all overlooked because we have been focused on celebrities. If Classified were to finally announce a Honda Lou, I bet all three of us.
Same thing with Rocky though. I want
I
an
want her
O-ring
as a
Honda
reaction
Lou.
plus. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want. I mean, I would buy a Classified, but I'd rather have it as an O-ring. I thought you were going to say an Invader, which I do believe we would all lose our minds over.
Anything anything that was like a Sunbow exclusive thing, I would definitely just want as a reaction plus.
As a reaction.
Smog 17, I am going to guess you are either very young or not in America. You say, I didn't know Sergeant Slaughter was a real person before last month. That is fascinating. We need some elaboration on that. Jeff Butler has a great idea. I'd want October Guard Ivan Drago. That's a fantastic idea. Oh, Noel, you know who I want? Who I'd prefer over the Fridge? Who's the football player that fought Bam Bam Bigelow?
Lawrence Taylor.
Give me an LT figure. That I would have freaked out over when I was a kid. Well, I guess I was way older actually, but still. All right, yeah, JJ Schulter, you're right. A Special Mission Brazil pack, I would lose my mind over. And the other thing, so that's figures. You are correct, sir. I would lose my mind over that. But the only other thing that I would really freak out over, and I know as someone who said I don't want more classified vehicles, but if they announced a Whale HasLab, I would freak out over that. That'd be amazing. All right. Moving on. Bassist Carlos. Is Elon Musk really going to buy Hasbro? And does this mean we will see Star Brigade, Space Force, SpaceX Joes sooner rather than later? I will say, sure, he might. And I will also say, no, but we probably will see those Nazi Indiana Jones figures that people seem to want so badly for some reason. Moving on. Silent Interlude. Since it is officially the Christmas season, what was your best G.I. Joe Christmas haul? For Christmas of 1986, I got the Stun and Wetsuit, and my brothers got the Tomahawk and the Havoc. I think they also got some single-carded figures, but I don't recall which ones. That was a pretty good year Joe-wise. That is a pretty good year Joe-wise. Do you guys have a specific Christmas that stands out to you from the 80s?
I would say probably 86 as well for me, because I remember for some reason my grandmother went like super all in. I didn't get my flag that I, of course, had been wanting for 2 years at that point in time. But I remember she got me the Tomahawk. She got me the Conquest. There were like 4 or 5 like of other like smaller vehicles and some figures.
Nice.
She must have spent in 1986 money $120.
Which is, I mean, that's a significant chunk of change back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, I didn't mean to put this up so soon. Wait, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Show off,
everybody.
The year, I'm thinking probably 84 because it was well before we moved away from Indiana. But it would have been the Christmas when we got the Sky Striker, the Dragonfly, and a buttload of the figures. I think we got like pretty much every figure that was released up to that point. Like if we were missing any, because usually with us for Christmas, it was like 1 or 2 big things and then just figures out the wazoo. But getting the Dragonfly and the Sky Striker was huge.
That's a good morning. Smog 17 follow-up wasn't born in the 80s and was born when G.I. Joe was kind of dead, so I'm just getting into G.I. Joe. Well, we are glad to have you here, and,
Yes.
and our message from the start has been we are here for every kind of G.I. Joe fan there is, and the definition of G.I. Joe fan to us is somebody who likes G.I. Joe. So we are happy to be here. Any knowledge you need, anything you want to talk about, let us know, and we'll get on it. Let's see. Wreckship85 says best haul wasn't figures or vehicles at all. My aunt and uncle bought me an entire box of the G.I. Joe trading cards to make sure I'd get an entire set. That is awesome. Can you imagine being a kid? Because when we were kids, like trading cards, if you're lucky, you go to the store, whether it's Garbage Pail Kids, the X-Men trading cards. I'm trying to think what other kind of, Noel, I'm sure you were doing like baseball cards and stuff.
I wasn't really collecting baseball cards at that point, but I had some Ninja Turtles cards. Well, I had the Star Wars cards.
I'm going to totally
Yeah,
hate
yeah.
myself here because the Star Wars cards, the Dark Crystal cards,
and
Yeah.
you go to the
Oz
store
cards.
and you might get like 2 packs, right?
Mhm.
To on a trip to the store, and you'd have your, what would that be, like 16 cards, maybe 12, 16 cards. You'd be like, I know there are like 40, 50, 60 more of these. And then maybe a couple weeks later, a month later, you go to the store, you've got enough money to get 2 more packs. Can you imagine
If they were still there?
Right. Can you imagine when we were kids getting a whole freaking box of trading cards? It would have blown my mind.
It was not until 1993 when I started working part-time at my first comic shop on the weekends that I learned, wait, people can pre-order boxes of
Right,
cards.
you can even
I don't just
get
have
a whole
to like
box.
hit
Right.
all these stores.
Right.
Somewhere around here, I think I still have it. I can't imagine that I would have gotten rid of it, but I just haven't seen it in a while. So KB Toys was selling entire boxes of WCW trading cards from 1991.
I got a box of those.
Yeah, and I have the full, complete set
Yeah,
of
yeah.
cards from the line. So I
Tom
think it's
Zink, baby. The Z-Man.
I have this. I know I got the one with Missy Hyatt and Jim Ross. Is one of it was like that
Yeah.
was one that I remember.
Yeah. Though for some reason those are like the most common trading cards in the world.
I'm sure they made trillions of them.
So I got to show you guys. This is not G.I. Joe related, but this is a purchase that might be my best purchase of 2024, even over the Robo Skull. I am going to be doing something with these on the Needless Things YouTube channel in the near future. I wanted to do it for Halloween, but I just never got the opportunity. I bought an entire box of Fright Flicks trading cards that I have wanted to find a box of these for the right price my entire life. And a good friend of mine, Monster Kid ATL, who does like vintage toys, mostly horror-oriented stuff, but she came across a full box and I got a deal. There's a little trading involved. There's a little cash, a little trade. But at some point I'm going to be doing, what do they call a card break? I think that's what the actual trading card people call it, with this box. And I'll be doing some giveaways. Very excited about this. This is what we do here on the show.
Tangents.
Right.
So Jeff Butler says, I had plenty of great Joe Christmas gifts, but I got the Space Shuttle Crusader in '89. I was 10 years old and it was perfect. I still have it and love it. That is what I love to hear, but also, so I could care less about the Crusader when I was younger. I don't know why. I didn't see one in person until my first Joe Fest. And I'm 5'7". So, fairly short. The fact that the box for that thing is over half my height.
You're thinking of the Defiant.
Oh,
The
I'm thinking of the
Crusader
Defiant.
was just they sold the actual orbiter separately.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I am
Defiant
thinking
is
of the Defiant.
enormous,
'Cause I
and
was like,
I
as a
am
10-year-old, how did you play with that? Because you could have fit inside of it.
yeah. Like the flag is huge, but the flag is a big flat thing. The Defiant, like that thing is massive.
Yeah.
The Defiant hit exactly the wrong time for my G.I. Joe fandom because it was 87.
It's 87.
So by 87, I was kind of losing interest in Joe and definitely wasn't looking for any massive things like that. But if it had come out a couple years earlier, I would have lost my mind over it because
Yeah.
space shuttles in the 80s, whoo,
Yep. And
huge.
it's also, so 87, it's also the last year for me and a lot of other people who grew up around the same time. And a lot of that's the media support. So I collected the figures that were in G.I. Joe the movie and some of the ones that I saw in the comics, but then half that stuff just never showed up in the animated series. So like the Defiant was like, I always forget that's the same year. It's like Battle Force 2000 was also in 87,
Right.
but I have
Yeah.
zero interest in it.
Yeah, they surprise me all the time because I always feel like they were a 90s
Yeah,
thing,
87
like
is a
90,
weird year.
91, and
Well,
no.
and Battle Force 2000, as we've talked about before, is a lot of what sort of killed my interest in G.I. Joe. So real quick, so this was the first thing that came to mind. This is 1982. This is me with you can see
Superman
Zap
pajamas.
Yeah, some Superman PJs.
You have
and
a
I've got
cap too.
Huh?
The little mini rig.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is my
dude.
favorite. I still have mine from when I was a kid.
I don't still have mine, but I did buy one from Second Chance Toys and Collectibles here in Georgia. But you can see I've got Zap and Snake Eyes in front of me. The flak is back there. I've got a G.I. Joe walkie-talkie. And then I don't know what that is laying
That
in
everything
front
is
of the
stacked
flak.
on.
But I believe the Hal, the Vamp, like I think this was the year that I got like all the 82, or when I got the stuff that I hadn't bought at Revco or whatever it is. But then, of course, this that I accidentally put up earlier. This in 1985 was the big year. But Kristian, look at who's hanging out on the deck of the flag.
Nice. The Matchbox diecast Voltron.
Yes.
The first toy that I had to save up money because you could not, he wasn't like $2 or $3 like a figure.
Right.
And you got that tactical battle platform hanging out in the background.
Right.
That was my jam in 85.
And it looks like I've got, obviously the Sky Striker is up front. It looks like the saturation on this picture is terrible, but it looks like the Slugger is on there right beside Voltron.
Yep.
And then
what is that to the left? Because that does not look like a G.I. Joe vehicle. Or am I mistaken? Or is that one of the...
Are you talking about beside the Sky Striker?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the little vehicle that came with the flag.
Okay, it's the yellow that's throwing me off. It looks like it's some sort of little like Japanese robot figure.
Well, and you know what? Maybe that is something else because I don't the thing that came with the flag wasn't yellow, was it?
Well, there were like 3 vehicles, weren't there, that came with the flag?
Well, there was it was very similar to what came with the Sky Striker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, 1985, obviously the biggest Christmas ever. Santa was very good.
It looked like there was a yellow.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, it is basically the tow.
Yeah.
Vehicle.
So the fun thing about this picture is this was taken in our living room, but that is obviously not where the flag lived. So this thing had to be transported upstairs to the bonus room somehow.
Did this get assembled by Santa in your living room on Christmas Eve.
If you listen to the Mongoose interview, there is some discussion of that.
I did listen to it, but it's been a little while.
I have to go back and re-listen now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a strong memory in the West household.
See, I thought you were going to say that the fun memory is that your parents got your pajamas from a Buck Rogers extra.
I was going to
That is
comment
some
on
80s sci-fi.
Oh, in
I
this
love it.
picture? No, that's my bathrobe. And I loved that thing because it was so growing up. Another little side journey we'll take here. Oh, and real quick though, before we move away from this, so while I do not still have my USS Flag from 1985, I do still have this little elf ornament from 1985.
I mean, just as good, right?
I chose poorly.
But
So-
easier to move from room to room.
So I am in 1985. I am 9 years old, and my entire life up to that point, the only male bathrobes I have seen are the ones that my dad has. And for some reason, I don't know why, Mongoose preferred the shortcut, like Hugh Hefner style above the knee bathrobes. And even as a kid, I just thought it was the weirdest thing that my dad had these little like short bathrobes. That bathrobe went almost to the ankle, and I always thought it was the coolest thing because I felt like it was almost like a Jedi robe.
You're like an imperial dignitary.
Yeah, as you pointed out, it is a little more Buck Rogers-y, but you can see how big the sleeves are on that thing. Like that was a roomy bathrobe that I really enjoyed, although not nearly as cool as the Superman footy pajamas.
Somewhere I got to find the pictures of me in my GoBots pajamas that I think I may be unwrapping some G.I. Joes in that picture as well.
Oh, Noel. So going back to Morgan Lofting real quick, I have some clips I need to send you because one of the last shows she did was Ben 10.
Mm-hmm.
A character, something fist. Anyway, it is Crasher. It is Crasher redone in Ben 10 style, and she kind of, sort of is doing her version of the Crasher voice. It's wild. Like, I think just WB must have made Ben 10.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, it was Cartoon Network, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Cartoon Network's owned by WB.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was when I was looking at her filmography. It was like stuff up to like 1996, and then a long break, and then it was Ben 10.
All right, final sound off from our pal Gary from the Dragon Con American Sci-Fi Classics track. On time this week. Congratulations, Gary. He usually comes in a few days late. With Cobra Commander having studied Megatron in Cobra Law, will it be using Cybertronian tech programming that gets the bats to work properly? Or could the Decepticons override their programming to use them against people or the Joes? Gary, I think these are both very solid theories. Thank you for your input. All right, with that, we're going to move on to our final segment of the show, the return. It's been a while of Joe and Tell. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right, Noel can go first.
I as I mentioned earlier, I was at Retro Toy Con a couple weeks ago and snagged a few things. And actually, I meant to grab one of these from earlier, but now it's out of my reach. Hang on. Oh, well, maybe it is still out of my reach. Well, I know I have shared in the past. I've got a couple of them up on the wall. I don't know if you can see them up there. No, it's going to be too shiny. But our good friends over at Retro Toy Quest, Wayne Shiner, of course, who takes some wonderful photographs.
Yeah,
and has done
yeah.
some neat little posters of G.I. Joe and other toy lines. But like I've got the 82, 83, 84. I got the Tiger Force one. I've got several of the ones that he's done. He's also put out a couple of books. And
I've got volume 1, and it's incredible. I haven't gotten the second one.
I have been meaning to pick this up for a long time. And I was talking the other day. I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and do this. And he was like, you should get it now because apparently he's almost completely sold out of these.
Yeah.
So if you see him at one of the shows, I got 250 of these were published. I have number 70. So he may have run out at Retro Toy Con. But I'm so happy to get this. It's just amazing photographs. This is such a nice, like, beautiful cover.
Well, open up a couple of pages. Show the people what you're looking at. Because what it is it's essentially he has taken the wish book idea, and these are not reproductions of original wish book images, but it's encyclopedic recollections of these toy lines with these beautiful diorama photos that he's put together from his own collection, I believe.
Yep. And I mean, he's doing, so for this one, he goes through, let's see, we have our Clash of the Titans, our Indiana Jones, our Kenner collection in here. He goes through Dungeons and Dragons, Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos, the A-Team. He's got all the different like versions of the 80s Indiana Jones figures. And just, I mean, amazing photography. It's a really great resource as well.
Yeah.
Goes into, let's see, he's got him in the D&D section now.
Well, everybody should check it out. We gotta keep moving here, but it's
check it out.
Gorgeous book, and if you're a toy collector, you have to have it.
And it said he may not have any left, so you have to buy it expensive on the aftermarket. But if you do see Retro Toy Quest at your local toy show, which mainly around here in the southeast area, see if he has any left. He has a volume 2 I still need to pick up as well.
Real quickly, Smog17 did have a question. We are out of time, but cannot decide on the Delta 17 Red Akami Operation Recall Snakehead or Skeletron O-Ring Wolf Trooper. This probably isn't the answer you're looking for, but honestly, you can't go wrong with any one of the three.
I've reviewed several of the Delta 17 figures here on the channel, and that Skeletron O-Ring. Nothing from Operation Recall is out yet. They're looking at probably, I think it's summer of 2025, but all the Delta 17 stuff is excellent. And that Skeletron O-Ring is excellent. I highly recommend either of those. All right, where were we? We're at Joe and Tell. I'll go ahead and do my Joe and Tell.
You got a Skeletron.
Super 7 haters, buckle up, Buttercup, because I've got a review coming this week. There is nothing more entertaining than somebody with the Super 7 derangement syndrome. So please tune in. I will be reviewing. I finally ordered the Cobra Mortal. So I'll be reviewing it either on the channel or maybe just live on Instagram. I don't know. Keep an eye on the Needless Things socials. I'll give you a good heads up so you can jump in and spit some of your angry venom at me for liking Super 7. Oh, so nice. Love it. Kristian, what you got?
All right. So this reminded me of a few of the things that I actually did buy on Black Friday. The White Elephant Toys did have a sale going on, so I did pick up quite a few of the figures.
Strike Force Alpha.
Yeah, like they had them down to like $17.
Yeah,
for some of them. So really good deals.
Delta 17, real quick, we got to mention Delta 17 has a sale going through the end of the year. All the Delta 17 figures are 20% off, except for that red Okami, which was the Joe Fest exclusive. That one's 10% off. But now is the time to buy some Delta 17. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So I got this figure a while back and just haven't shown him off. But I did pick up their version of Atomic Mike. And so besides
what is that line called now? I can't remember.
Super Joe.
No, they had to change the name.
Oh, they had to change the name. That's right.
Action Commander? Super Commander?
Maybe, because like when you go to their website, there's like 3 different sections to find these figures in now. And I was like, well, that's really weird.
Adventure Command.
Yeah, and I bought some of the accessory sets that they have. So
nice.
When those come in, I'm looking forward to finally breaking out the other Super Joes I have from them. And
oh man, did you get a life raft?
I did not.
$10.
I know,
for
but
the Combat raft.
I really wanted that mummy costume.
I can understand that.
So
love it. Well, fellas, that is all the show we've got this week. We've had a great time hanging out with everybody in the chat. Noel and Kristian, always the highlight of my week talking to you guys. Our music is by Andy Simford of electricminnowmusic.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast. Feel free to follow us there. Shoot us messages. We will reply. We'll chat with you, whatever. Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Finest?
The Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming club, and we raise money for a fantastic organization called Canines for Warriors. You might see us at your local toy show, or you can just go check out thefinestcc.com. Help us raise money because it's a great organization we support. And you can also maybe, if you ever consider about dressing up like your favorite Joe character or Joe adjacent character, and joining us, you can find more details on the Finest Recruitment Center on Facebook.
And Kristian, where can we find that toy photography that you do so well?
You can find me on Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
Well, what another fantastic show we've had. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. This is my custom job on the Robo Skull Mark II. I think it looks really, really nice. Join us on December the 16th for our next live stream. And just know that hats don't really fit on the Robo Skull. Until next time, you Robo Skull.
Cobra.